and welcome to the No Taboo Woo Woo Show.
I'm Sandra Logan.
And I'm Gail Chisholm.
If you enjoy being a fly on the wall of deep and meaningful conversations between pals on all things spirituality, healing and personal empowerment, then you have landed in the right podcast.
Enjoy today's episode.
Hello. Happy full moon in Virgo. Full moon eclipse today in Virgo. I just cheers the mic. That wasn't intentional, but there we go.
I realised we both reached for our hot beverage at the same time as well. So
I've got a wee peppermint tea.
I'm on the black coffee.
I know, I've been drinking a lot of coffee lately. I'm like, get a wee herbal tea in. But yeah, full moon in Virgo. How are you finding the energy?
I was going to say fine, but actually I don't think that's true. So I feel like, so actually I was going to say I had a bit of a, I'm going to use the term meltdown at the weekend. I just felt like my capacity for listening and holding stuff for people had reached its peak, and I had a little moment where I was going to say I threw something. That sounds dramatic. I threw a pen down, like real hardcore, threw the pen down. And actually I did go out for a walk with Hamish because I was like, I need to go and clear my head. I just felt like I was just carrying a lot at the moment. It's not really my stuff per se, but I just was like, I reached capacity, I think. And there was the proverbial straw that broke a camel's back. So, which I always think is really random, isn't it, when that sort of stuff happens, because the thing seems really innocuous to the other person or people. You're like, okay, that's a little dramatic. What's going on here, type of thing. And then you realise that there's just been other stuff that's been sitting bubbling away. So, and like on Sunday, I felt like bubbly emotionally is probably a good way to describe it. And then I had my Reiki training, and we were doing a journey at something, and I was like, I'm not sure this is working. I felt like really in my throat and pushing back. And Jane, who was I shared afterwards, I actually asked a question from the prior week as well, because I redid the prior week, and I was like, am I broken because I don't feel like what I'm experiencing is what the other people that are sharing are experiencing? And it's really interesting when you're in these spaces, because like you're listening to what other people are saying. It's really hard not to compare yourself. And to reckon, it's like you've got to stand really strong in the power of trusting what you're experiencing is as it's meant to be. And you know, you'll probably relate to this as well, having done a lot of like courses in the woo and why we're here a bit on the podcast, right? And I was really reflecting on, like, I'm feeling really challenged around trusting. And she said to me around, it feels like there's so like, rather than this being a somatic response, which actually weirdly one of the other people commented that she resonated a bit with me, and she was saying that she felt stuff in her throat. And for Jane, she tuned into her guides, and for this other lady, she was like, it feels like very a somatic response for you, lean into that. But for me, she was like, this feels like more like it's challenge, and it's like you're being challenged in that there's resistance. So it's like, what are you resisting? And that's why I was experiencing it like that. And then there was a really strange bit right at the end, because it was like I felt like I was being not strangled as such, but it felt like a lot of pressure on my throat area. And then I felt like I was being pushed back, and then weirdly right at the end, this little image of because I didn't really have much else other than just feeling in my body. As it turned out, it was a mandrill that came up, and we had, I was like, it's the monkey with the coloured face, which is a mandrill.
I was like, what's a mandrill?
Well, I then Googled around spiritual meaning of mandrills, and actually
So
what Jane said as
specific.
well, she said, yeah, she was like, I think doing a little bit of journeying to see what this guide has to share with you. And so I was then sort of reflecting a bit on it's like I'm being asked to expand is maybe what's sort of coming back, a little bit of kind of distance from the time of doing it. And obviously, or it's not obviously at all, but you asking about the full moon has then made me think that perhaps some of the energetics that are going on around is potentially heightened some of this. But it's so funny because, like, I journaled on this and I'm thinking, we're on this journey, and I like to think of myself as quite open, and I try different things, but it's really interesting when somebody's sitting there going, what are you resisting? And it doesn't feel like, and I was like, it really, like, I was glad she said it. I felt a bit called out because it's like, it's really shone a light on my inconsistency on my own personal practices. And so if I really want to work in this with this sort of way of delivering Reiki, like, it's really like I've got to get with the program on my own personal practice, really. So
That's
yeah,
like
so
so in
that's a
alignment.
long
And
answer for how are you finding the moon,
no,
Gail?
I love that though. And do you know what? That's so in alignment that you've actually reached that conclusion as well, because like the Virgo is all about our routines, especially when it
Mm,
comes to like our wellness. And we've got Mercury retrograding in Pisces just now, which is all about the
mm,
subconscious. It's about our intuition and our dream space and all of that kind of stuff. So, like, that totally lines up astrologically. It makes a lot of sense. And, I love that you've actually, like, then this is the thing as well, is like about like when you're standing in a place of like wanting to evolve and wanting to grow, you're open then
mm,
to like actually receiving answers that are uncomfortable. And it's like, what can I do with this information? And like even coming away with that nugget of like, this is the thing that I can do going forward to
mm.
actually like maybe create more flow and get out of whatever resistance is going on. Do you know what I mean? And like also it's just like as you were talking there as well, it's amazing to have people hold that kind of space as well. Do you know what I mean? Like in that Reiki setting where there's people, and I suppose it's what you and I do as well, isn't it? It's like to hold that space for people to have their breakthrough moments or their breakdowns, and for it to be a safe space as well. Like I feel like it's so important that we're coming together and actually supporting each other through, like, because it's individual evolution, yes, but it's also collective. Like we're all in this together and we're all connected. So it's like everybody that is in that space is then influencing your journey, and then you're influencing them too. And it's like
Mm.
in this sort of indirect way, which I think is really beautiful. How are
Yeah,
you
it's
feeling
really
now about it?
interesting, like, 'cause, well, I mean, so one of the things that is alongside the Reiki is she's got a little mini course called Being an Empowered Empath, and really talking about, because part of, so part of her premise is that the conventional way of delivering Reiki is it's very easy for attachments to occur, energetic attachment, and because you're Reiki trained as well, so you are channeling this universal life force energy called Reiki energy. So, and when you're taught to do it, it's like, I always used to think it's like imagining the Reiki energy coming through me out of like my hands into where it needs to go. And also then looking at some of like the chakras and the energetic, so that you're sort of sensing energetic blocks. And there's a risk around that part of your personal energy and their personal energy can become entangled. And this spiritual Reiki is more around, she calls it, you become a hollow bone. So rather than channeling the Reiki life force energy and using your hands, albeit you can use your hands if you want to. She's challenging us at the moment, and because there's quite a number of us who are classically Reiki trained in there,
Mm-hmm.
and she's challenging if you're classically Reiki trained to not use your hands initially, because it probably means that you don't slip into old ways of doing things, and given what we've been learning now, I can understand why. And so what she was saying, so what I've then had this other realization. So when I was doing classic Reiki, I started to find that my body became a map for the client's body. So I
Mm-hmm.
could then, if I tuned into what I felt in my body, that was telling me where my client might feel it, that I should direct that Reiki energy. Now, what she then highlighted to me, so weirdly, then what I was experiencing on Sunday, now I'll give you a little context a second around what we were journeying on, is that felt like for me what I might have felt in a conventional Reiki setting. Whereas if I had a client there and I felt real constriction on my throat and pushing back, I would have then taken that as the client, that's where the Reiki energy needs to go. And then that really, when Jane said there's like that sort of sounds like, well, a resistance, but this is where like there's energetic entanglement, and I thought it was interesting how her guides were saying for the other person on the call, how it was more of a somatic thing, because not
Mm-hmm.
everybody, like we've talked this before on the pod, not everybody can see things, like, because sometimes when you close your eyes, you can see things, or you can smell things, or you can touch things, or you know things, or you feel things. And so it's really made me kind of like question how I had been doing it before, or rather what those messages were, because I had seen that as actually a positive. On one hand, it is a positive because you can really, but then this is the bit around being an empowered empath. It's like, so the ability to tune in and sense in my body, like be a mirror, is probably a better way. But what she was challenging me on is that kind of, where is this actually energetic entanglement where I'm taking on that. And then also, and I thought it was interesting in the throat, like, because I'm a self-projected projector as well, it's all about kind of talking things out and manifest. It felt like there was like a lot of stuckness. And so maybe that's why I really resonated when she challenged me on, what are you resisting? Because if you'd
Mm-hmm.
asked me, I would have said nothing, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a surface level response. And actually, I think if I really step back and think about it, why did I sign up for this particular course when I'm classically Reiki trained? I didn't need to do this. I could have just invested energy in setting up a Reiki business.
Yeah.
Is because it's connection to spirit. It's an understanding of something bigger than ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
also because I had felt that there was a bit of gatekeeping in classic Reiki. And it's like
Mm.
there is, when you understand where Reiki's come from, and where Uza, I can't ever pronounce his name,
Usui.
how Reiki came about, it wasn't gatekept. It was,
Mm.
so I'm going to tell you the journey that I was doing, because this might, it'll be interesting to see, because I think you're much more tuned in to your guides than I perhaps are. So um what she said was, she said, yeah, what am I trying to control or resist? And so I was like, actually, that probably makes sense. It's around, like, it's almost like trying to push an outcome, maybe is a better way of sort of saying it. Whereas what
Mm.
we were journeying on, so how she works is slightly different. And we did a journey to the place of lost personal power. And I was like,
That's
um,
cool.
yeah, so she talks about, so the way she teaches Reiki is like, it's like, and how the session works out is really cool. And then the second thing was, we went to the essence of spiritual detoxification. And so you're working
Mm.
with guides, you're working with the spirit of Reiki, you're working with your Reiki guides, and that's where, like, you're almost like, she talks about being the hollow bone or a bridge. It's like you're taking your, and then you just trust in that, like, the guides are doing the stuff, and then you know. Bob's your uncle and Sue's your auntie, and the client's all good to go. But where I felt this real resistance was in the spirit when I was doing this, the essence of spiritual detoxification. It was very strange, and so it has made me. And then this is where I always like Chip, my inner critic, likes to make an appearance, going, "Well, you're just shit at this, Gail, aren't you?" So, which is also maybe where I then realised a bit about the control, because I thought to myself, well, my inner critic is being quite noisy and trying to control the situation because it's like it's an unknown. I don't know, I haven't done this before, as a lot of with the Reiki drum as well. Anyway, I'm going to pause and see what your spirit guides or what you think about it. And
Do you know
yeah,
the
all
first
the
thing that came to me when you were talking about these places that you go is it came to me about soul fragmentation, like the when you were talking about the place of lost personal power. It's almost like when we go through like things in our lives or even past lives, like part of our soul can like sort of fragment, and it doesn't mean that we're not whole, it doesn't mean we're not complete, but it's like our energetically there's something in a safe space, let's call it, energetically within the universe. And it spoke to me there when you were talking about that, of almost like reclaiming that, of going back and getting that piece of you. That piece of you, it makes it sound like we're putting together a puzzle, right? But I suppose like energetically we kind of are, and that we're retrieving these parts of ourselves that maybe have like gone to this place for what we call safety, right? But it's like that, and maybe it's even that we've had some sort of conflict or we've been through some sort of grief or something that has made this part of us feel like it's sort of separate. And that's what came to me when you were talking about that there, was about, and it's interesting because I've had on the shelf a soul retrieval course that you know about, and it's up there with the astrology one. The
yeah.
incompleted courses. But the soul retrieval one I found really fascinating around this concept of retrieving our sort of fragments and reintegrating that into our body, because our soul is always connected to these parts because it's energy, but in terms of what we can hold within our physical body. So it's interesting how things like then show up when you're in these sort of environments and you're doing these sort of journeys, and you can then feel this in your throat, or it feels like a pressure, or you're feeling a sensation or getting a memory or something like that, because it's almost like that connection to that thing. So that was what came up for me there around that.
Yeah, so the process normally, how the Reiki session would work in this context. So intention is everything around
Yeah.
how you set up your space, how you work with guide, and then there is an element of trust in what goes on. And so the first thing you would do with a client is the spiritual detoxification. So once you go in, that's what you're asking the guides to help with, is this detoxification. And then you go into looking for its personal life force energy return. And it's interesting what she was saying is like, the Reiki energy, this universal life force energy is different to the personal life force energy. And she describes it like if we, like an egg. Like so the egg is an entity in itself, but the yolk is different from the white. So she describes like the light universal life force energy and personal power being one's the egg yolk and one's the egg white. So they're part
Oh,
of the
that's
same thing, but
interesting,
they are
actually.
actually different. Yeah. So next week, I can't lie, I'm actually bricking it because we are doing some group work in pairs on setting intention using Zoom, using like drumming tracks. I can't lie, on the basis that like after Sunday went, I was like, I feel like this is going to be a fucking shit show of a car crash for me. So I really hope that she pairs me up with somebody who is able to hold that space for me of like, um, yeah. It's so funny because I know deep down like this is partly why I signed up for this course, is to be challenged on this sort of
Yeah.
spiritual connection, and really a lot of it's like that trust in, and it's the same in life, isn't it? And
Mm,
we talk about this quite a lot on the pod around like trusting that in divine timing, or everything's as it should be. And but when we sometimes are holding on too tight and trying to control and resist stuff,
yeah.
you keep being presented with things. And it's the thing that's really opened my eyes is, it's like I wouldn't have, like, if you'd asked me 5 or 6 years ago, I would have said, yeah, I was probably quite resistant and tried to control things, and I wouldn't have said that nowadays. But this course is really shining a light on that. Actually, I am still, and it's like the surface level control's gone, like a lot of these things the tools rely on, but this is really shining a light on that much deeper sense of control and resistance.
It's so
And it's
funny because,
also
like,
an
even,
intellectual challenge. Yeah, it's an intellectual
yeah,
challenge for me as well, because it's like trying to always sort of like make sense of it, and sometimes you just can't.
yeah. And it's funny because, like, even down to wanting to be paired with a certain kind of person in the group and not just trusting that the person that you're going to be paired with is going to be the right person for you, and what's
I
going to
know,
come up is what is meant to come up,
absolutely.
right?
I know, I'm such a
It's
fanny.
it requires so much surrender, doesn't it, this journey, to be like, I'm just like, it's a practice. I think it's also
Mm,
remembering that it's not just like a one and done, and like as we continue to go on, we're constantly pushed to evolve and to grow.
mm,
So it's like it's almost these like different depths of surrender, and not
mm,
surrender in the sense of, because I think surrender can be used as like the whole white flag, I'm completely taking a passive approach here. That's not what I mean when I say surrender, but it's more of a trust in the process of it, and being like, I'm going to be an active participant in this, but what needs to happen is going to happen for my ultimate highest good.
mm.
And sort of trust in yourself throughout that process as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is such a
It's
practice.
the other thing that's really coming up as well, because then as I was sitting trying to like plan out this week yesterday, and like looking at trying to time block a bit more around like, well, I'm away this weekend, and then like I've got this, so I actually need to carve out time this week to really sit down and invest time into this. And it's quite fascinating things that are coming up around, which is stuff coming from like my playing big, like, a bit of this before that, or I really notice like how much the environment impacts on my energy, or like this sense of like just making time, like when trying to think, well, maybe I need to be a certain thing, or I've got these 5 things to do first, and if I do that, then that'll give me the time, so I'm not on the clock when I'm trying to do this. Um,
Mm,
and so it's really it's identifying other things that is, and it's funny because you think, this is like we talk a lot, where it's like it's never a one and done, and like
mm.
you might feel peel away one layer, and then it's like ta-da, I'm still here, but just like in a
Because you
slightly
are a
different
beautiful
form.
onion.
I know. I did look up what the mandrel represents, and because she
Mhm.
said to me to do a journey with that, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll try and schedule that in. I said, try. I need to. And it says the mandrel spirit energy shows important lessons about being authentic, confident, and expressive. And it was so funny because it was like the throat
Wow.
that was really there. Um, and then it says, so it's about embracing authentic self-expression. In many cultures, mandrels are symbols of life, confidence, and the value of being unique. And their bold
Oh, I love
features remind
that.
us that expressing ourselves honestly is important for personal and spiritual well-being. Um, so it's again, it's a bit around, because it's like, I know, I was like, oh, it's so funny because that is very around like the throat and identity and speaking your truth, being in that sort of space. Um, and the mandrel symbolizes strength and confidence. It encourages you to use your inner power and stand tall, to build confidence, limit distractions by taking a digital break, and help you connect to yourself more clearly.
Yeah.
Celebrating creativity, because obviously the mandrel's the one that's like it's got bright blue and red and
Mm.
whatever colors. The energy around that. Some stuff on strengthening communication and connection. Um, connecting with primal and wild energies and accepting your instinctual side, overcoming fear and embracing courage. So, yeah, I was like, okay,
Do you
okay, for
know that
Mars.
like massively speaks to me of Leo energy,
Does.
isn't it? Like how in
Yeah.
alignment, and I would never have thought in a million years of a mandrel.
No.
But it's like that
Um,
Leo energy of like courage and
yeah.
expression and all of that good stuff.
I think as well, like, so just, I mean, there's quite a lot on the page, right? But, some things also touching on finding balance between instinct and intellect. And I can sense that because there's
Mm,
like sometimes I feel it's, and that's probably my 5-1 in human design, this trying to intellectualize spiritual growth or,
mm-hmm.
connection. And I think it's just so like if I was to distill it down, it's reminding me that my journey on this space is unique and that how I connect and am the hollow bone will be different to others. And she talked quite a lot about this around, like standing in your own uniqueness, because the more honest and authentic you are with who you are in whatever space you're in will call in the right people for you, which then gives you, I know this is in the context of like a Reiki practice, but, or like, your Reiki business, but you're bringing in people that you want to work with because they're in alignment, they're being
Yeah.
called in because of how honest and authentic you're being.
Mm-hmm. And
And
that's
so, yeah.
interesting because it's
Mm,
like comes back to that whole control thing, doesn't it? Of like, I think both of us, well, I know that both of us through our conversations can resonate, and probably people listening can too, where it's like you've got a goal that you're working towards, especially if you've got a project that you're doing or a business of your own, where it's like you're doing the steps that you should be doing to take the action to create an outcome, when actually so much of it, especially when you're doing spiritual work, is energetics, and it's about being in alignment and being in your authentic truth to attract in the people,
mm,
because it's an energetic universe. And I think that's part of, like, I've certainly struggled with that, like, of feeling like, okay, but if I do this to-do list, that's going to create the outcome. But actually, because I'm energetically not in alignment with the thing that I'm calling in, it's not come in. And then it's like this whole, because we live in also a fucking patriarchy of like, you got to do. It's like it's learning a new way of doing things to be more in that balance of the masculine and feminine, not where again you're not passive, like still taking the inspired actions but not trying to control the outcome through your efforts, because it's like this needing to prove your worth through your productivity. Whereas the more feminine way of doing things is this like energy work that we're talking about. It's focusing on your energy. It's getting yourself into a state of flow where you're showing up when you're taking that inspired action from a really authentic place that is real, because people feel it.
mm,
People can feel it when you're like chasing something or when you're attracting something. Like it's a different kind of vibe. And it's something that I've really been trying to embody. But again, it's such a practice, and especially when you've got fucking massive astrological shifts going on. The world is on fucking fire.
oh
I
man,
mean,
I
that's a
know.
whole podcast or 10 in itself. And then we've got our own stuff going on in our individual lives as well, of the way that the planets are impacting us, and our own personal issues and things. So there's so much going on, and that's why it's really important, like, for us to like really tune into ourselves and be like, what is it that I need? Like, what is it that I energetically need? What are the needs that I should prioritize right now for my own well-being? Like, I remember years and years ago hearing something and it really stuck with me, and it's like, your job is to take care of yourself, the rest of it is up to the universe, right? And it's like, when we really think about that, it's like, we like, in prioritizing ourselves, prioritizing our own well-being in all aspects, and really taking care of our vessel, taking care of our energy, prioritizing our mental well-being, our emotional well-being, and making time for the spiritual practices that really add value to our lives. get us into a state of being in balance and being in flow, where we are actually open to the inspiration that can come to us, like from our intuition, from our spirit teams, from the universe, where we can take the inspired actions instead of being like in this place of control. And it's really like, I find it really like it's like a restructuring of old belief systems of how things should be done. And because it seems too easy. It seems too easy. If that was what it was down to, like that our priority is to take care of ourselves and the rest of it is up to the universe. It almost seems like that's a bit too easy, doesn't it? And then also there's like all of the interlinked bits of like, what does taking care of myself look like? But it's also meant to be an enjoyable experience. Like, life is not meant to be a struggle. This is something that I need to keep reminding myself of. Life is not meant to be a struggle. It's not meant to be a struggle. We're meant to feel happy and joy and peace. And it doesn't mean that we won't experience all the other emotions, right? Because it's the human experience is everything. But in our ultimate core of our being is like, it's meant to be an enjoyable experience. It's like coming back to that, isn't it? But like the control thing, I know I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but it all comes back to that feeling of like wanting to control how things go and what the outcomes are. And it's a real sort of ego's way of handling things, isn't it? It's like, but if I do this thing, I should get this outcome. And then the ego looks for evidence in your vicinity of being like other people who have done the thing before you and being like, oh, but they did this and they got this result, so maybe this is what I should do. But actually it's like, especially when it comes to human design and stuff as well, is like we're not all built the same way. So the way that we call in and attract in is a different energetic theme. Like a projector doesn't, attract in the same way necessarily that a generator does. So it's like, it's also knowing how you operate and what the best way for you to move through the world in, and how you make decisions and how you take action and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot, isn't it?
It is. It is. What's the card for today?
I've not even pulled a
Just
card.
thinking about this. Oh, have you not? All right. I thought you were shuffling before we recorded today. I
I
thought you
was
pulled it
shuffling. I
just
was
then.
like, I'll prepare the cards, shuffle the cards and see. I'm going to use the Crystal Magic Tarot today. I did bring 2 decks down. I was like, it's this or Lightseers, but we've not had the Crystal Magic for a while, so I thought we'll get another little card. Let's see. Universe, what's the guidance for the person listening today? Oh, that is way too many. But there's one that is short. Okay, right. We've got Death and Transformation, and we've got the 5 of Cups. This is a really pretty 5 of Cups.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Can I just say,
Heart
just
in the
before you
heart.
go into it, so this is really interesting because I was editing last week's podcast.
Yeah.
I was going to do spoiler alert, but by the time this one is out, last one will be out. But we had the death card last week. And when I was editing, there was a bit of chat around, because you said something and you were like, this is like 5 of Cups energy.
Did I? I don't remember.
Yeah. So it's interesting that the little death card wants to come out. What's your interpretation this week, though?
This week, well, it's interesting that I was just talking about like taking care of your needs and how that's a priority, because in this card, for anyone listening on audio, it's a woman who appears to be naked and she's holding a heart, and the 5 cups are above her, and she looks like she's really, it's like a really tender kind of energy that I'm getting with this. This really speaks to me of like taking care of your emotional well-being just now. And it's interesting because with the 5 of Cups coming up, we've got Mercury retrograde in Pisces just now, and Pisces is the deep feeler. I am a Pisces sun, Cancer rising, so I know all about the deeps feels. But with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, it can bring up some energy of like past hurtful experiences, things that have felt emotional for us, and it's like a transformation's taking place just now. because Mercury retrograde is like the time for reviewing things, for potentially revisiting things that come up, especially take account of what's happening in your dreams, people. Like if you've got a journal, even just a notebook to have by your bed for like dreams that are coming up, because your subconscious is doing some work in the background and some messages might be coming up for you around this time. Mercury is retrograde until the 20th of March, I want to say. So we're right in it just now. But there might be some things that are coming up around past hurts, like feelings of loss and feelings of grief and feelings of pain. And this is really speaking to me about taking care of your heart just now. Like, feel what you have to feel and be mindful of not abandoning yourself when it comes to the emotions that are coming up. This is really about like allowing yourself to feel it, not intellectualizing your emotions, but feeling it and allowing it to move, allowing the transformation to take place. Because I did have a peak under death, and we've got the star here. The star is healing and hope. And also the crystal for the star card is moldavite. That is like massively transformational. For the 5 of Cups, it's pink tourmaline. If anybody has that, if you resonate with that message, these crystals can be ones that can support you. That's why I really like this deck for that, for the suggestions of the crystals. But that's what's coming up to me just now. It feels like a really tender time where you might be feeling more emotional than usual. Don't drown in the depths of your emotions, but feel them. Feel what you've got to feel. And then allow yourself to move on. Is there anything that comes up for you, Gail, with that card?
The word that keeps going round and around my head is vulnerable. Like
Oh,
when you
yeah.
described it, it's just like, and then that sort of plays into that Brene Brown, the power of vulnerability, and like
Yeah.
actually, when you're vulnerable, like on the other side, there can be, obviously you may face a rejection, but you may also not. And actually, when we're
Yeah.
vulnerable, it allows us to move through rather
Yeah.
than staying stuck. The other thing, just when you said that the star was there, that was how we ended last week's episode
Was
with the
it?
star card. Yeah,
Look at us, totally in
yeah,
flow with that. That's lovely. I
I
was just
know.
seeing if there's any more guidance. Oh, Ace of Swords. Ace of Swords. Get into the truth. I think, do you know
The
what I'm
thing that
getting with
came
the...
into my head here, sorry, the when you said Ace, the first thing that popped into my head was like it's a new mindset, fresh perspective.
Oh, yeah. Like seeing things from a different angle as well.
Mm,
I feel like there's going to be some clarity coming up around what's been going on emotionally. Be having a fresh
mm,
perspective on something. The crystal for the Ace of Swords is Tiger's Eye. But I'm really getting a surrendering energy with this. Like in this card, in the Ace of Swords, it's like holding up her hands and like accepting the truth. Accepting the
mm,
truth. Queen of Wands on the bottom of the deck. It's all about personal power, about courage, about acting on your passions. This could be, well, it's really interesting when you think about what we've talked about today, about even personal power, like coming up in the Reiki sessions and stuff. And the Queen of Wands is the Queen of personal power. So it could be relating to you feeling confident, stepping into your personal power. Justice at the bottom of the deck, balance,
mm.
balancing the scales. Yeah, I'm really drawn to the eye as well in this Ace of Swords. This eye up here. Might be getting some intuitive downloads at this time. So pay attention to what's popping up for you. Pay attention to what's coming up for you. It's interesting because she's got both, like in both cards, the woman's eyes are closed. And I was so drawn to the eye. So this is like, I'm getting a real energy of going inwards to see. It's a different kind of perception, a different kind of way of seeing things. It feels much more internal than whatever's going on around you at the moment. Be kind to yourselves. Be gentle with yourselves. And interesting as well that we've got a moon in this Five of Cups as well. And as on the date of recording, it is this full moon in Virgo. Could have you in the feels. Also as well with like Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and we've also got the nodes in Pisces and Virgo. There's like this kind of push-pull energy as well, because they are opposites in the zodiac. But yeah, this Ace of Swords and the Five of Cups, it's like getting clear on what you are feeling and feeling the feels, people. Gotta feel it to heal it. I'm a big advocate of that message.
I like that. You've got to feel it to heal it. Feels like a good message.
Yeah. Yeah, there could be some endings happening just now. Some walking away, Eight of Cups. It's a really transformative time. Really transformative. It's allowing, isn't it? It's allowing transformation to take place without trying to control it too much.
Absolutely.
And not suppressing your emotions in the process of it.
I know. It's it's a funny time at the moment, isn't it, really? The energy around stuff.
Yeah, it is. And like, especially like, not to go off topic or anything or get into politics or anything like that, but there's so much going on in the world right now, and I think it's remembering that, you know, we are all feeling the effects of things energetically as well, and not like allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. It's not like focusing on the negativity or anything, but if there are feelings coming up, like feel it. I do get with this Five of Cups so that it's more past energy. It does feel more like the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Rich chat today.
Rich chat. Interested to hear how it resonates for people. Let us know. Let us know.
Absolutely. It'd be good to hear how you get through the moon as well.
The moon, I know.
Yeah.
An eclipse as well. It can be like there might be some sudden changes going on just now in your life. Some things that you're like, what the fuck is happening? Because it is like eclipse energy. This is like the final one in eclipse season, so it's like almost like a closing out of some old stuff, so that we can start anew. We can start fresh, and from that place of like, I'm seeing justice again in my mind's eye of like, of balance and fairness. Balance and fairness. So there we go.
A little bit of that in the world today.
Fucking right. Well, sending lots of love to everybody. Take care of yourselves.
Absolutely.
Feel your feels.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening. And please share your thoughts and where you might be resistant, or you're trying to control too much, or where you might want to be a little bit more vulnerable in life, and what your success is around that. Like, how's the message landed for you today? Until the next episode.
Until the next one. Much love.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. For listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, then be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get notified about future episodes. We'll see you next time.